The call came at 4:17 p.m. A trembling voice, a secret she should never have known, a warning that could destroy a home, and a man who had no idea that the next 1 hour would flip his entire world upside down. "Sir, please, you need to come home right now. If you don't, she'll destroy her. I swear your daughter is not safe." Those were the words that made Arman Khan, CEO, father of one, husband of a woman he adored, slam his car brakes in the middle of Karachi traffic. He had never heard the family maid Rani speak like that. Breathless, panicked, terrified, and the worst part? Her voice wasn't just trembling, it was cracking, as if she was crying. Arman had hired Rani 3 years ago, soft-spoken, loyal, respectful. She had raised Aisha, the couple's 6-year-old daughter, with the gentleness of a second mother. But his wife, Mara, had never truly liked her. Mara was elegant, polished, fragile-looking, always dressed perfectly, always speaking softly, always smiling for pictures. But behind closed doors, she was a storm. Arman knew she struggled with anxiety, insecurity, and her obsession with controlling her environment. But he didn't know how far it had gone. Not yet. "Arman, Rani, calm down and tell me what's happening." But Rani only sobbed louder. "Rani, Madam lost control. She's shouting at Aisha, throwing things, blaming her for something she didn't even do. Please, sir, please come before she hurts her." And then suddenly, a crash, a loud thud, Aisha screaming. Then the line went dead. Arman's heart punched through his chest. He started driving like a man possessed. Red lights meant nothing. Honking cars were distant echoes. All he could hear were those screams. His daughter's voice, terrified, helpless. And underneath that, the certainty that this was not the first time his wife had snapped like this. He had noticed signs, the broken glass last week, the scratch on Aisha's arm that she brushed off, the tears Rani had tried to hide. Arman had ignored it all because he believed his wife just needed time. But now time was the enemy. When he finally reached the house, the gate was open. One shoe lay on the driveway. The living room lights flickered. Something was wrong, very wrong. He rushed in, and what he saw made him freeze. A vase lay shattered, cushions were ripped. The coffee table was overturned, and in the middle of the chaos, Rani was shielding little Aisha with her arms, while Mara stood above them, her hand raised, eyes red, breathing wild and broken, like a person possessed by their darkest nightmares. She turned slowly, noticing Arman standing at the doorway. Her voice cracked. "You finally came, but you're too late." Arman froze. Mira's voice didn't sound like her. It was hollow, sharp, trembling with something far beyond simple anger. Aisha clung to Rani, her cheeks streaked with tears. Arman's voice was steady, but inside he was shaking. "Arman, Mara, put your hand down." She laughed, a short, broken laugh. Mara, "Oh, now you care now?" When she's already ruined everything. Her eyes darted to Aisha with something twisted, a mix of blame, fear, and a wound only she could feel. Arman stepped forward, slow and cautious. "Arman, Rani, take Aisha to her room." But Mara screamed, "Mara, don't you touch her!" She lunged, not at Arman, but at Rani. Arman grabbed Mara's arm, stopping her mid-swing. She collapsed to the floor, sobbing, trembling violently. "Mara, she's taking her away from me. Everyone takes everything away from me." Rani took Aisha upstairs, whispering calming words. Arman knelt beside Mara. "Arman, talk to me. What's happening to you?" She stared at the floor. Then the truth spilled out like poison. "Mara, I never wanted a maid, or your daughter to love someone else more than me. You never see it, Arman." She runs to Rani first. She eats with her, sleeps on her lap. "I'm her mother, but she treats me like I'm nobody." She looked up at him, eyes wild. "Mara, so I took her tablet, I hid it. And when she cried, something inside me snapped. I kept shouting, but she wouldn't stop. She just stared at me, like I was a monster." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Mara, am I a monster?" Arman didn't answer. His silence said enough. Suddenly, they heard a door slam upstairs. Aisha screamed again. Rani shouted. Arman ran up the stairs, and what he saw made his blood turn to ice. Mara had followed them upstairs. She stood outside Aisha's room, beating on the locked door with her fists. Arman pulled her back. She thrashed, screamed, cried. And then she fainted, collapsed completely. 2 hours later, Mara lay in a hospital bed. A psychiatrist spoke softly to Arman. "Doctor, Your wife is experiencing acute psychological breakdown triggered by untreated trauma, anxiety, and maternal insecurity. She is not in her senses. She needs controlled therapy, urgently. Armin felt as if the world had cracked under his feet. Trauma? Therapy? How had he missed this? Doctor. If she had continued, sir, she could have harmed the child. Not intentionally, but in her condition. Impulse control collapses. Armin buried his face in his hands. The doctor sighed. Doctor, you brought her in at the right time. But the words felt like knives. Because the truth was, he almost didn't. When Armin returned home that night, Ronnie sat with Aisha, singing softly. Aisha ran to him. Aisha, Papa, will Mama hurt me again? His heart shattered. Before he could answer, his phone vibrated. A message from Mara's sister. If you don't take your daughter away, history will repeat. You don't know everything about Mara. Armin stared at the message, stunned. What history? What secret? What was he missing? Armin called Myra's sister immediately. She hesitated, then whispered, "Come to my house. Now there's something you need to know." Armin arrived and sat across from her. She took a deep breath. Sister, Mara wasn't always like this. When she was 8, she had a nanny, a loving woman named Safina. She adored her, but she paused. Sister, one day Safina disappeared. Armin frowned. Sister, our mother fired her after an argument. Without warning, without goodbye. Mara cried for weeks. She never healed. She always believed the nanny abandoned her. Armin felt the puzzle clicking together painfully. Myra wasn't jealous of Ronnie. She wasn't angry at Aisha. She was drowning in the same childhood wound over and over. Terrified that she would be the mother who was replaced. Terrified that her daughter would stop loving her. Terrified of becoming her own mother. Trauma repeating itself. Armin returned home, processing everything. He found Ronnie in the kitchen, cleaning quietly. He sat down heavily. Armin, thank you. For saving Aisha, for calling me, for not letting things get worse. Ronnie wiped her tears. Ronnie, she isn't a bad mother, sir. She's hurting inside, I saw it. I knew she needed help. Armin looked at her with gratitude and guilt. He had misjudged both women in his house. That night, Aisha crawled into his lap. Aisha, Papa, will Mama come home? Armin, yes, when she gets better. Aisha, but will she still be angry? Her voice broke. Aisha, I love Mama, but she scares me sometimes. Armin hugged her tighter. He finally understood this wasn't about punishment. This wasn't about blame. This was about healing a family before the cracks became permanent. But at midnight, something shattered downstairs. Armin rushed down and froze. The front door was open. Wind blew through the hallway. And standing there was Mara, disheveled, confused, barefoot, still in her hospital gown. Mara, Armin, I want my daughter. She took a shaky step forward. Then another. Her voice cracked. Mara, please don't keep her away from me. I will die without her. Armin didn't move. She looked fragile, like one wrong word could break her further. Then she said something that chilled him. Mara, if I can't have her, no one can. Armin slowly raised his hands in a calming gesture. Armin, Mara, listen, no one is taking Aisha from you. But she shook her head violently. Mara, you don't understand. She's slipping away from me just like Safina slipped away. Her voice broke into sobs. Myra, I see the way she looks at Ronnie. Like she used to look at me, like I mattered. But now, I'm the monster. Armin stepped closer. Armin, you are not a monster, you're hurting. You need help, she whispered. Help won't fix a broken mother. A small voice came from the stairs. Mama? Aisha stood there, trembling, and Mara snapped her head toward her like a wounded animal recognizing its cub. Myra. Aisha, come to Mama. Aisha hesitated. That hesitation, that tiny, innocent hesitation stabbed Mara like a blade. She screamed, Mara, see? She's afraid of me. She ran toward the stairs. Armin lunged, grabbing her before she reached Aisha. She fought him, screaming, crying, clawing at his arms. Aisha cried out. Ronnie rushed in and scooped Aisha away. And for a moment, the house echoed with the cries of 3 souls drowning in their own pain. Mara finally collapsed in Armin's arms, sobbing uncontrollably. Armin whispered, Armin, you will not lose your daughter, but you will lose yourself if you don't let us help you. She whispered back. Promise me she won't forget me. Armin, I promise. The ambulance arrived seconds later. They took her gently. She didn't fight anymore. She just kept repeating, "Don't let her hate me, please." Arman stood frozen at the door, his heart breaking. Aisha held his leg tightly, crying softly. And in that moment, Arman realized, trauma isn't evil. It's a wound, and wounds need treatment, not silence. 3 months passed. Mara remained in therapy, intensive, structured, and healing. Slowly, her nightmares quieted, her self-hatred softened. She began understanding her trauma instead of drowning in it. Arman visited her often, sometimes alone, sometimes with Aisha. The first time Aisha hugged her again, Mara broke down sobbing, but this time from relief. At home, things were different. Ronnie stayed, not as a maid anymore, as part of the family. She taught Aisha gentle breathing exercises. She spoke lovingly of Mara to keep the child's heart soft. She helped Arman maintain calm and consistency. When Mara returned home after 12 weeks of therapy, it wasn't dramatic. It was gentle. She walked in quietly. Aisha ran to her. Mara dropped to her knees and held her like a mother who had learned the cost of losing control. "Mara, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Aisha whispered, "Mama, I know I love you." Arman watched, tears in his eyes. He realized that love isn't loud, healing isn't quick, and families don't break in a day, nor are they rebuilt in one. Mara began attending therapy regularly. Arman learned to communicate instead of assuming. Aisha learned that adults can break too, but they can rebuild. And Ronnie became a symbol of bravery, the woman who made the call that saved a home. This story isn't about a villain. It's about a woman swallowed by unhealed wounds, a husband who waited too long to notice, a child who feared the person she loved most, and a maid who had the courage to speak when no one else did. Because sometimes, the person you need to fear is not the one who hates you, but the one who loves you and is hurting silently inside. Healing is possible, but only when someone finally says, "Please come home now," before she destroys herself.